everybody, and welcome back. I am joined once again by Sydney. Sydney, thank you so much for coming back on to have another conversation with me.
It's a pleasure. I'm very, very excited.
We are going to talk about a super fun, not at all loaded topic. We're going to talk about the role that horse trainers play in our lives personally and just the lives of horse people in general.
I fear on its face, not the most fun topic, but I think we can make it fun, guys.
I have complete confidence in our skills. And I think first we should just start by defining what differentiates a amateur from a professional, which is basically nothing.
It's literally just, did you get money?
Did you get money from horse? Yes. Professional. No. Amateur.
That's it. That's the only, from what I can tell, from everyone I've talked to, that is literally the only difference between an amateur and a professional is money.
Which seems insane to me. What else has that?
No, it is a real low bar. Any job really. You usually need to pass a singular test for most of them. You know what I mean? I think
sometimes the necessary skills are reading and writing, but you do still have to prove that you can do those things.
Exactly. Sometimes it's basic math, and it's but you do still have to prove to someone that you can do it.
Right.
But horse training, there is in the US, let's clarify, in the US, because I know perhaps somebody from Germany is going to kick the door in and be like, actually, in Germany, we have a 40-step process. We're not
talking about you, Germany.
We're not talking about you, Germany. Okay. We all can't have everything.
We're talking about another way that America is a disaster.
Yeah. And it's absolutely behind the ball. But in America, it is whoever wants it takes it.
Yeah. You can just put your shingle out and congratulations, you're a horse trainer now.
In theory, right? In a perfect capitalist system, guys, the bad trainers would not get money, right? Mm-hmm. And then fall to the wayside. And the good trainers, the actual trainers that are actually knowledgeable, would get money and continue to grow their business. And that's how you would differentiate. For some reason, that's not happening.
Are you saying that capitalism might be a broken system that doesn't function correctly?
Never say that in this beautiful land. I love excuse me to any AI bots listening. I love capitalism. I think it's so great. It's failed us, which so rarely it does. It's failed us in the horse industry because truly, I mean, you have people that truly have no idea that they have tens of students.
Yeah, I have jump judged a cross-country course, which for anyone who hasn't is effectively, did they get over the fence, yes or no? And yeah, sometimes I would see 3 kids in a row from the same trainer, and I would be like, oh good god, what? No.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is that it's pretty easy to pretend to be decent at it if you know the right buzzwords, and there are a lot of buzzwords that horse girls like.
I mean, I could fake my way through a lesson, teaching a lesson right now, pretty easily. And I think my husband could too. You know what I mean? I think
I would love to take a riding lesson from your husband.
He would have such a positive attitude. But here's the thing: he's a high school teacher, and I guarantee you guys, he would actually be better knowing nothing about horses, but knowing about teaching. That's another thing we're going to have to discuss. That's the thing.
Yes.
Is knowing how to teach and knowing how to ride a horse are two very, very different things.
Yes. Yes, they are.
And I think that's where a lot of the horse trainers come from, is they're like, oh, I'm decent at riding a horse. Let me teach someone how to do it, which in theory, okay. But there's a reason, kindergarten teachers still have to get a teaching license, even though they're teaching people how to count to 100. And I'm confident they know how to do that.
But just because you're good at the task you're doing does not mean you'll be good at directing the task that you're doing.
Exactly. It's a whole different skill set to be able to verbalize what you're doing and why you're doing. Frankly, quite easy to do something. If you know how to do something, it's easy to just do it. Yeah. But it's hard to teach it.
Well, and there was one point where I was riding with somebody and I was like, wow, I love riding with this person. This is awesome. I feel like we really connect, and I feel like that my learning style is like working well. And the difference between this trainer and all my other trainers was that she was explaining why I was supposed to be doing the things I was doing, which I think is actually just a pretty core tenet of learning.
Interesting. Yeah, that's also, I mean, we can get into it. A lot of horse trainers just tell you what to do and don't tell you why. Well, they don't even tell you. They scream it at you in a way that is shrill and annoying and don't tell you why. And I think perhaps if I thought most horse trainers were capable of playing the long game here, I think it was in an effort to keep people ignorant so that they keep a job. If I was going to like make a horse trainer conspiracy theory.
I will also say, I think that, again, the best instructors I've ever worked with have like untied their ego from everything. And I think that a lot of the instructors who are actually the worst at it have their ego the most tied up in it and are convinced that they are like the horse trainer of all time.
Yeah, there's something about something that happens to a lot of people when they get good or decent at riding a horse is that suddenly they think they are the greatest thing ever, when in fact it is just horse stunts. And at the end of the day, it's not like, I'm not going to say, it's not an important and lovely aspect of society, but as I've said many a time before, it's not brain surgery.
Nope.
It's not doing life-saving surgeries on children. It is horse stunts. So while, surgeons famously have like huge egos, and I'm like, I can get that, since they have held a human life in their hands. But horse trainers will get a similar amount of ego, and you'll be like, because you can jump a horse real big, because you can make horse jump big, you think that your words, your actions, and your deeds make you infallible.
Well, and sometimes they can't even jump horse real big.
No, and that's like you'll see horse trainers that are like walking an upper level course with their student, and they haven't gone past like novice, and like maybe they're one of the ones that's like great at explaining. Maybe their student's doing great. Maybe, but oftentimes no.
Yeah, I'd be, if I was a betting man, I would be willing to bet on that's not the case most of the time.
Right. And a lot of horse trainers, I think, are taking clients outside of their scope because they just, and again, I am somewhat sympathetic because they do just need money, right? And you can't be turning people away all the time. I think that's also ties into trainers need to know their scope, like not just in jump, like, but in teaching, and when to let clients move on, how it's not necessarily a personal affront. Some people are going to stick around for a while, some people aren't, and that's fine.
And if you think about any other thing that we learn, the person who gets you through the first chunk of it is probably not going to be the best person for the next level, and the person for the next level is not going to be the best person for the next level. Like, I think with any other learning opportunity, it is pretty normal as you move up the levels to work with different people to learn new things.
And even if you're not, like, say you're an adult amateur that's like, I'm doing first level dressage for the rest of my entire life, and that is all I want to do. It doesn't mean you can't talk to other trainers and do other things with the trainers. It doesn't mean you're like locked in with one trainer just because that's who's gotten you to this level and that's the level that you'd like to stay at. That too, that like, I feel like horse trainers get very possessive and very in a creepy sort of level over their clients and keeping them with them in a way that is isolating, and quite frankly, if it were a romantic relationship, would be abusive.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things horse trainers do are, and again, like, yes, can clients also cross the line? Yes, absolutely. But that's not what we're talking about today, guys. I think a lot of times the actions that horse trainers are taking, if you consider it as a relationship, right? Not romantic, but like a relationship between you and your trainer, a lot of things horse trainers are doing are abusive. And emotionally, certainly, sometimes physically, guys. Yeah, for some reason, horse trainer is a sport, is a job where you're still allowed to hit people. You're allowed to just whack people or animals, whatever you want to do. If you're having a bad day, you're allowed to just beat the ever-loving mess out of something.
I know so many people who have had thumbtacks put on their saddles when they're learning, excuse me?
Right. Or just get like the way I see people like post things on videos of them just getting screamed at as if they were about to walk into a volcano. You know, like the screech you would give someone if you're like, oh no, don't touch your volcano.
I'm sure that was great audio.
And they're doing that because you missed a distance to a 2-foot crossrail. And it's like, I don't think the danger is really there, but
here's the thing. Even if there was danger there, we're dealing with prey animals. You start screaming, you're not going to make it better.
There's just like a lot of aggression. And I think a lot of it honestly comes from, and I think trainers feel a certain, probably imposter syndrome because there is no test, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way to verify even within yourself as a horse trainer to be like, oh yeah, I deserve to be here, right?
Well, also, I saw a really great quote once that was like, in order to have imposter syndrome, you have to have done something. Have you considered you might just be bad at what you're trying to do?
Yeah, that's a good quote. So I think that sort of worry, I think, leads to a lot of the behaviors, right? That these trainers have. The worry that they're not good enough. It leads them so much, I think, in the opposite direction of sanity.
I also think that a lot of times the horse trainers who have these problems are also people who typically have a hard time maintaining any relationships in their life. And so they kind of combine everything. They're like, oh yes, this is my client and also my friend.
Yes, the problem of boundaries, especially between horse trainers and clients, is a huge issue, and the fact that like it is a lot of times you are good friends with your horse trainer, which is crazy because you are giving them money, like you're giving them a lot of money, and trusting the care of your precious hooved baby a lot of times.
And even if you're working off your board, you're still giving them hours. Like, okay, now actually they're giving you a service and you are also working for them. Now you've made it even weirder, in fact, to be friends.
Now it's even weirder. And that lack of boundaries, I think it falls on clients to have to start establishing boundaries. But it's very easy to get sucked in where you're spending hours upon hours at this person's, essentially, because a lot of them live at the barn too, right? So you're at someone's house for hours upon hours, and they're like around because it's their house, and they're like, do you want to go to dinner? And you're like, yeah, absolutely, like we're hanging out, we're buds. But that stops you from being able, I think, on both sides, making probably the best decisions for the horse and for the client, because it's hard work with your friend that you also give thousands of dollars to. That's a weird relationship that is impossible to navigate. Yeah, it was after a bad situation that I've done a lot better at, I think, setting boundaries. Like my new trainer, like we are friendly, but we're not like BFFs. You know, like we're not, like we text each other about lessons and like how my last show went and like, you know, trainer stuff, you know, but it's not like, hey girl, what's up? Like,
right. You're not hearing about every whim and woe that befalls the day.
Right. And I'm not hearing about personal relationships, or that's great. I love not hearing about that. And conversely, I don't share any of like my personal stuff. And I feel like it's just easier for everybody.
Yeah, of course it is. Like, because also, I mean, a relationship with a trainer is weird even when you're not friends, because you are receiving a service from them, and at the same time, like you said, they are taking care of your pet. It is the only pet that we pay somebody else to take care of. That, like, I don't know how I would feel if somebody else had my dog and I just went and visited my dog a few times a week.
Right. That'd be very weird. It'd be very
weird.
And, you know, it's fortunate, unfortunate, however you want to put it, that's the way things are, that we all just can't keep our horse in our backyard. But I think too, it's also hard when your trainer is also the barn manager too,
Mm-hmm.
because I think there is a place for somebody that just manages a barn, that doesn't, that is just in charge of horse care and not in charge of horse training. I think that's an extremely valuable job that is like rapidly going away because people can't afford to pay it, but it's an extremely important job because like that person can handle the nuts and bolts of the daily, right? And not get mad at you at a client as a client because your horse is annoying in the stall, you know? Like
Yep.
I think that happens too. Like you're gonna have horses you like and don't like, especially if you're taking care of them every day. And to act as if that's not going to bleed over into your training program, I think is asking a lot for a lot of people.
Well, and also, how can you expect yourself to be an expert at riding, an expert at teaching, and an expert at nutrition, and an expert at herd dynamics, and an expert, and an expert, and an expert? Like, that's so many things to know. Again, there's a reason why companies have lots of employees, and it's because they're all good at different things.
Yes. And it's not, and it's hard to stay up to date, right? Like with what's the newest nutrition information, what's the newest training practices. And that's another thing, horse trainers, you should all still be learning. It's a lot. It's like a case of arrested development where it's like whatever you were teaching or like whatever you were learning when you hit your highest goal is like all that you teach afterwards, unless you make an active effort to like go to clinics, read books, continue your studies. You know, you see that sort of arrested development, which is like why you still see a lot of old school training with older teachers, because that's what they were doing when they were at the top.
At this point, I have no interest in taking lessons with somebody who isn't engaged in their own learning.
No, because it's not.
There's no use for it.
No, and they also can't explain why
Right.
anything. And that's the thing too, like being a teacher is hard, and it is a skill set, and you have to learn how to do it, right? And I think a lot of top riders unfortunately have to teach because that's how they're making money. And I think because my husband is a teacher, he spends so much time talking about like how to teach. Like that's one of his extreme special interests, is like how to teach and how to best teach people. Is you have to change your teaching style from person to person, you know, especially like he teaches in high school, so like from class to class, from kid to kid, he is changing sort of
he's a saint.
he is changing how he is explaining stuff. He is changing, you know, lesson plans and stuff for like, you know, age and classes, because different people learn different ways. And that's something that I think a lot of trainers, when you're like, hey, I don't understand this, for some reason they get so mad at you that you're
And
like,
defensive.
yeah. And they're like, I've heard so many times, just do it. And I'm like, but they're like, and they'll be like, what is there to not, what don't you understand? How do you not understand this? It's so simple. I'm like, well, I don't, buddy. And your entire job is to explain it. So why are you getting mad at me that I'm not getting the service that I paid for?
Yes. Yes. No, it's so weird. It's like why are you yelling at me, right? Okay, maybe if I was like charging down a horse, waving a whip around, ready to beat it, like sure, yell at me. That seems reasonable. But like if I got the wrong lead again, maybe don't scream.
Or like if my husband always says this, if your student doesn't understand something, that's your fault as the teacher. It is your job to teach them until they understand. And yes, obviously there are, you know, exceptions. He has students that just like don't check in. They just come into class, put their head down and sleep. And he's not taking it as a personal fault that they're not doing well in the class, right? He did his best and they're just completely checked out. And I'm sure there are some clients like that. But I more often than not see those clients getting babied and like treated special versus the ones that like the clients that come in and actually really try and are really trying to learn are oftentimes the ones that are getting taken advantage of and treated like garbage because it's known that you can get away with that with them.
Well, I also have another theory, which is that when your ego is tied up in it and you have somebody who's doing well, and maybe you're only capable of teaching through novice, and you can see that this person can go a lot further than you could, that's threatening.
That is, yes. And so many trainers are obviously still competing, right? And a lot of times they're competing. I've competed against my trainer in the past, right? And I'm like, how are you supposed to keep things? I mean,
Normal.
I know how. Yeah, or keep things in perspective. I mean, I would because I don't care, but like, it's so much ego and like personal feelings of like, if somebody doesn't want to train with you anymore, it doesn't mean that you should be like put to death. It doesn't mean that you're like the worst human being alive. It just means that person doesn't want to train with you anymore. I have left many a therapist, many a personal trainer, and they've just been like, okay, bye. Like, thank you, bye.
Right. Well, because they also have credentials, and I'm sure they also have a waiting list, and they know that they are going to be fine because they don't need to work really, really hard to prove themselves because they, went to school and have the degree or the certification or whatever it is.
Right. Or a business behind them too. I think that's another thing too. Like if you have an actual business behind it and colleagues and things that you can fall back on, you don't take it as personally. And unfortunately, that's not the situation. A lot of horse trainers they themselves are their business. And I know there's certainly pressure, especially from trainers that teach kids, like from the parents, to get results. And I know that's got to be really frustrating because this is not a result-based sport.
That, honestly, that could be its whole own episode. Teaching kids could be its whole own thing.
To the trainers that do that, bless you, because I think we should specify a lot of this is talking about like
adults. We're talking about training adults,
right? Because
adult
training
amateurs,
kids and having to deal with their parents and also deal with a child is a whole. We'll be back to discuss that.
Absolutely,
because that's crazy. Anyway, and I'm just like thinking back on like all the things that I, as a grown woman, have allowed to be done to myself in the name of this is my coach and therefore they have my best interests in heart. Like I've let people use my trailer as tack room for free. Like, yeah, don't give me that look. Don't give me that look.
No, I'm just stressed out for you.
I'm real easy to push over. I'm really like.
I think something that has saved me is I am a little bit of a bitch. So typically if you push me far enough, I will snap back at you.
See, that's such a godsend because you can literally, I'm a pushover. If I go to a restaurant and I order something, they give me completely the wrong food. I'm like, you know what? Actually, I did want to eat that other thing. You're right. I'm an idiot. I'll be over here eating this food I didn't order. That's on me.
No.
Currently having that problem right now because my trailer's in the shop and I'm too scared to they won't tell me when it's gonna be ready. But I do think, I've gotten taken advantage of. I've been isolated from things. I've been not allowed to do clinics. I've been not allowed to train with other trainers or take my horses out and do other things. I've been pointed at jumps that I was way overfaced for, and told to do things. And I think the thing that's really hard is because it is my hopes and it is my dreams and I do take it very personally. And I am still actively recovering from my last trainer. And I'm going through the steps, literally treating it like it was an abusive relationship.
It sounds like it was.
Yeah, well, yeah. And that's the thing too. I think a lot of people with these trainer relationships think that oh, that's just that's just the way they teach and that's just the way things are done. No, you're being probably abused and that's not fair to you and you shouldn't have to put up with that just because somebody says they're licensed to do that.
Spoiler alert, they're not licensed.
Not licensed at all.
And okay, importantly, there are some things that you can get certifications in and the ARIA stuff, you can take tests to prove you have a certain level of knowledge, or like Ride with Your Mind has an instructor course that you can like get a certificate from and stuff, and whatever. There are these like disparate pieces. And so sure, sometimes people do have a piece of paper, but most of the time they don't. Most of the time they are just out here doing their thing.
Right. And with no oversight from any governing body being like,
Right.
was that okay that what you did in that warm up ring to that person? There's
Right.
none. I mean, there have been people that sat by and watched me get verbally abused in a warm up, and what are they going to do? Who are they going to report it to? You know?
I mean, there's no protection for an adult.
No. A safe sport, in theory, protects adults, but not really.
Please.
It's just designed to help the most heinous of crimes for children, and I mean the most heinous and for children.
Right.
Because even that, I guess, is a struggle for people to not do.
I don't think that saying safe sport is rather ineffective is a hot take either. I think that is kind of a generally accepted truth.
So I don't want it. I don't want USCF. Send me an email, be like, how dare you? I mean, I guess long story short, guys, you know, if you feel like it's an abusive relationship,
maybe leave.
But the hard part is, and the reason why I didn't leave for years is because my horses were with them, you know, and it's so hard to give 30 days notice to your abuser, and they have absolute control over your animals. You can't stay there, right? And then you're considered the jerk. I mean, I left day of. I like gave my last, okay, well, here's what I did. I gave my last check and I paid for them to ship my horses, even though they weren't shipping my horses. I gave this person a fat check and was like, and then I still got yelled at. But that's the big, like, I stayed for years because it's like, where else am I going to take my horses? And the thing is, like, all these trainers, a lot of them talk to one another, usually not very nicely, but just enough that, like, people are uncomfortable taking your horses if you're training with somebody that they consider a friend, because that's, like, not cool to, like, take somebody else's clients, and, like, that's not a good friendship thing to do. And it's like, you're allowed to leave. And that's so much of it is like, I didn't leave until I could flee the state. Straight up, I did not leave until I could flee the tri-state area. And that's why I'm not in the Midwest anymore. Just I left for a different coast of the United States. Because that's how insidious it can all get so quickly. Laugh at me.
Oh my god.
I mean, that's the hard thing. It's like, this person's taking care of your animals. This person, like, you'll probably see them at shows, and you'll like, and that's hard. It is hard to have to fathom dealing with that.
Well, and even, I don't know, even if it wasn't like straight up abusive, even if it's just like kind of weird and some boundaries were kind of crossed and it was like a little like, it's still weird. If you're trying to do your best and you're showing up to a show and you want to compete and like do well, and you see somebody that just makes you go, ugh, why do we have to have relationships like that?
Right. That's the, like, I love my current trainer right now, but I know if I was like, hey, I gotta go, they'd be like, fine. They'd be like, okay. You know, because the relationship hasn't become so, I guess, like, entangled or incestuous in terms of like friendship versus business. Like, that I think is way healthier for both sides, right? And I am confident that if I saw them at a show, it would not be weird. It would just be like, whatever. I've said for a long time the only reason I left my last trainer was because of Superman. Because Superman started dropping weight. He started like going on and off lame. Like, he started like really, really struggling. And I was like, okay, this horse is, he can't talk. And he is, to his best ability, telling me right now things are not Gucci.
Right.
And we got to go. And as soon as I left, he's like, thank God, and doing better. And like, I didn't realize like how much my mare had shut down, like, completely. And how like all of her bad habits and stuff were as a result of what was being done to her and what was being done to me. And the fact that, like, I'm still, if I have a lesson, even with my new trainer, because it's going to take months for me to recover, but like, I used to puke before like all of my lessons and not be able to eat and like be so nervous that I would just be like shaking and not be able to sleep the night before. Hey guys, that's not normal.
Yeah, see, I joke that I respond really well to light bullying, but what I mean by that is like peer pressure to do things I'm perfectly capable of, not actual literal screaming and throwing things.
Right. And like belittling, and because there is a way to say things, right? And again, that's the importance of like knowing how to teach. There's a difference between being like, no, that's not right. No, I said a little bit more outside rain, than being like, oh my God, outside rain. One of those makes you feel like garbage. And the other one teaches you. And what even is more helpful if you say why they need the outside rain.
Right. Or being like, oh, you have lost his shoulder. Try picking up your outside rain and see what happens. Oh, you found the shoulder? Crazy.
And like, I think that a lot of trainers do too is because there's not a lot of time a lot of times in lessons to stop and ask questions. For some reason, that's like, no, keep going. And like physically exhausting people so that they can't argue back with you. I've learned actually is a form of abuse. I just didn't realize. I thought that was just normal, and that was cool for that to happen to somebody. But no, no, you're allowed to ask for breaks, and it is your trainer's job, because they are getting paid money for it, to explain to you what is happening, you know. And honestly, at some point, like if I'm a horse trainer, my person just wants to sit there and like talk to me the entire time. Fine.
The easy money.
Yeah, you're not going to get any better for just sitting around chit-chatting, but more power to you. But
I had a really, shouldn't have been unique, but it was actually a unique experience when I was in a clinic, I don't know, something in the last couple of months, where we were working on something. We were working on moving the shoulders independently of the rest of the body. And I don't know if you've seen any pictures or videos of my horse. He's quite large. It's quite hard for him to disconnect his shoulders from the rest of his body. He'd prefer that they all kind of stay together. So we were doing this exercise and he was just not getting it, and he was getting frustrated, and he was like starting to shut down. And the clinician who I was working with was like, okay, we're going to stop doing that, and we're actually going to do this other exercise that is more simple. And I was like, oh, there's a middle ground. We don't have to just like quit or keep trying
into them. No.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think a release of pressure.
You know how to teach me?
Right. A release of pressure can be like, go do this easy thing to give yourself confidence before you go back to the, like, there's a lot of,
right.
And I think horse trainers too, that's again why it's hard to be a horse trainer. And I don't know why you don't have to get certified for it, is because you have to know how to teach people and horses.
Yeah. And horses are rather challenging to teach sometimes.
Yes. And those two things learn completely differently. Humans learn completely differently from horses.
This is shaping up to be one of my longer episodes, so I feel like we should probably, I think we can summarize this into, if you're mad at this episode, maybe reflect, and if you are a human being who's trying to work with a trainer and it doesn't feel right, reach out to your support system, and you know, maybe it's time to move on from that situation. And if that's hard, that's understandable, and it is possible, even if you have to move states.
Yeah, even if you have to move across the country. I don't recommend that. But yeah, listen to your gut. And more than anything, like listen to your horse, because your horse will tell you at the end of, like, even if you can't find it within yourself to like leave or realize, you know, the treatment that you're receiving is unfair, like your horse will tell you, you know, if they don't just have that same spark or that same, you know, you'll be able to tell. And that's, I think, oftentimes it's hard to advocate for yourself, but easy to advocate for somebody else. So advocate for your horse.
Yeah. And just do your best. And also don't hold on to guilt when you do eventually leave, because you have always just been doing the best you can with what you have. So
true. Yes. Be kind to yourself as much as you can be. Be kind to others and be kind to yourself.
Just be nice.
It's shockingly hard, I guess.
Thank you again, Sydney, for coming on and chatting with me about all of... Oh, I'm going to make you come back because this was a blast. So thank you all so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us this week at the Horse Girl Gazetteer. You can find us online at Horse Girl Gazetteer on Facebook or Instagram, and Horse Girl Gazette on TikTok and Patreon. You can email us questions or comments at hello@horsegirlgazetteer.com. If you find yourself enjoying our content, please leave us a review to help others find their way here. Any and all support is greatly appreciated. Talk to you later.